Why is it so hard to finish a book these days? You sit down to read, 5 minutes later, you're on your phone, and the book is collecting dust by the end of the week. You're not lazy, you've just been training wrong. Reading is a skill, and most of us were never taught how to do it well as adults. And in this video, I'll show you a simple plan to rebuild your focus, actually remember what you read, and finish more books, even if you haven't finished one since high school. And the best part, you can do it in just 15 minutes a day and still get through 10 books this year. Let me show you how. Most people fail at reading because they think it's a natural skill, something either you can or can't do. But that's exactly why you're struggling, and why the next step is going to feel so simple yet powerful. I used to feel frustrated every time I picked up a book. I'd start strong for a few pages, then my mind wandered, my phone would go off, and the book ended up collecting dust. That's when I realized reading is like exercise. If you haven't trained your brain, you can't expect to tackle a heavy book right away. Reading isn't about willpower. It's like lifting weights. You start light, focus on proper form, and gradually increase the load. The same principle applies to building your mental stamina for reading. I call this micro-momentum reading. It's about starting tiny, building consistency, and gradually increasing your reading time so your brain actually adapts. Research published in the National Center for Biotechnology Information shows that when we repeat simple actions consistently, our brain creates automatic pathways that reduce our dependence on willpower and conscious motivation. Starting with small, manageable reading sessions allows your attention span to strengthen naturally, just like building physical endurance. So start ridiculously small. Even one page a day counts. Then schedule 10 to 15 minutes a day for a couple of weeks. Once that feels comfortable, increase to 20 minutes, then 30, building your reading muscles over time. By being consistent, even 15 minutes a day can get you through roughly 10 books a year. And here's a pro tip. If you miss a day, just pick up where you left off. Consistency matters more than perfection. The goal is building the habit, not maintaining a perfect streak. Even if you build the habit of reading consistently, most people still quit within weeks. And it's not because they lack discipline, it's because of one crucial mistake that almost everyone makes when choosing what to read. I remember starting the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius thinking it would instantly make me a serious reader. 10 pages in, I was overwhelmed, frustrated, and ready to quit. That's when I realized the problem wasn't me, it was the book. Choosing the wrong book early on can crush motivation before you even get started. The books you start with matter more than the books you finish. Picking the right material makes building a reading habit far easier and more enjoyable. I call this the reading sandbox. Start with books that excite you, are manageable in length, and let you build momentum without feeling like a chore. Research published in BMC Psychology shows that the perceived reward value of behavior, including pleasure and intrinsic motivation, has a significant impact on habit formation through behavioral repetition. Additionally, studies demonstrate that the closer we get to achieving a goal, the more motivated we become. And showing progress through feedback loops motivates users to continue as they perceive themselves getting closer to their goal. By choosing engaging, achievable books first, you create positive associations with reading and build momentum through early wins. So pick books you're genuinely excited to read. Gripping thrillers, practical how-to guides, short memoirs, or even graphic novels. Aim for 200 to 300 pages max to start. After finishing 2 to 3 books that genuinely entertain you, then gradually explore new genres or tackle that serious book you've been avoiding. The key is momentum, not prestige. But here's the frustrating part. You can read consistently, choose great books, and still feel like nothing sticks. There's a hidden reason why most people forget everything they read, and it's not what you think. I'd finish a book and feel like I had accomplished something, only to realize weeks later I could barely recall the main ideas. Even though I took notes, they often sat there on paper, never really translating into memory or action. I realized I needed a way to make the ideas stick, not just capture them. Passive reading isn't enough. To retain what you read, your brain needs a map, a way to actively process and apply the information. I call this the chapter capture method. After each reading session, you actively filter and capture 3 to 5 key insights, then translate them into specific actions you can implement immediately. Cognitive psychology research shows that active engagement, like summarizing and applying information, strengthens memory retention and understanding. Simply seeing or reading words isn't enough. Your brain needs to encode them through interaction and use. So after each reading session, ask yourself, what are the 3 to 5 ideas I could actually use? Write them down in your own words as specific actions, not abstract concepts. For example, instead of noting morning routine is important, write, tomorrow morning start with the most important task before checking social media. Now here's what separates casual readers from people whose lives actually change from books. It's not about reading more or reading faster. It's about something most people never even consider. I used to pick up books just because they were bestsellers or trending online. I'd finish them, but afterward, I didn't feel like anything in my life had actually changed. That's when I realized the problem. I wasn't reading with direction. The most successful readers don't choose books because they're popular. They choose books that serve their goals, so every page pushes them closer to something that matters. Reading without direction feels empty, but when you connect your books to specific goals or projects, every page becomes more valuable. I call this the purpose-driven method. Instead of asking, what book should I read next? You ask, what am I working on right now, and what book could help me do it better? Research published in the National Center for Biotechnology Information shows that motivation has been defined as the process whereby goal-directed activities are initiated and sustained. And studies demonstrated that participants reporting higher motivation to learn in a lecture-based setting tended to engage in less mind-wandering, and that decrease in mind-wandering was in turn associated with greater retention of the lecture material. When your reading connects to something you're actively working on, your brain treats that information as immediately useful rather than abstract knowledge. So frame your reading around projects, not numbers. Ask yourself, what am I trying to improve in my life right now? Then find books that directly support that goal. If you're starting a business, read books on marketing and leadership. If you're working on your health, read fitness and nutrition. If you're improving relationships, read communication or psychology books. Keep a running list of your current projects and match books to them. By aligning books with your active goals, you'll not only remember more, you'll actually use what you read. And that's when reading stops being just a hobby and becomes a tool for real progress. But there's one final piece that can undo all your progress without you even realizing it. And the crazy part, it's happening in the background every time you try to read. I used to struggle with reading not because I didn't want to, but because I was constantly sabotaging myself. My phone buzzed, notifications popped up, and I'd find myself scrolling instead of reading. It wasn't a lack of motivation, it was a lack of structure. That's when I realized that setting up your environment and mindset is just as important as the book itself. Your environment either makes reading effortless or impossible. By designing your surroundings and habits, you make reading the easiest choice and protect your focus from distraction. I call this environment by design. Create physical and mental cues that make reading automatic, enjoyable, and distraction-free. Research published in PubMed Central shows that habits are context-dependent. They strengthen through repetition and associations with cues from the surrounding environment, such that their expression becomes dependent on the relevant cues. Studies also demonstrate that developing a habitual response towards pre-identified cues in the environment can lessen the cognitive demand associated with complex physical activity. When your surroundings support reading, it becomes automatic rather than requiring constant willpower. So design your environment in 3 layers. A physical setup. This is where you create a dedicated reading spot that signals focus time to your brain. And you keep a book with you always for unexpected free moments. Waiting rooms, commutes, lunch breaks. Then you have timing and habits. And this is where you pair reading with something you already enjoy, like morning coffee or evening tea. Read before engaging with your phone or social media to protect your peak attention. And the 3rd layer of your environment is the mental framework. And this is where you start thinking of yourself as a reader, not someone who tries to read. This identity shift reduces internal resistance and makes the habit feel natural rather than forced. When reading becomes part of who you are and not just what you do, consistency follows effortlessly. Most people never finish a book because they've been reading the wrong way, but it doesn't have to be that way. Start small, train your brain, capture what matters, and make reading part of who you are. In a year, you could be finishing books consistently, remembering more, and growing in ways that you didn't think were possible, all with just 15 minutes a day. Now, if you want to take this even further and guarantee you finish more books, you're going to want to watch this video next. So click that video and I'll see you there. Keep learning, keep growing, keep going, and I'll see you in the next one.